Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing another Celebrity Deep Dive video, and this time I have switched it up. This time it's not an actor, it's an actress. The first girl I'll be talking about in this series, and I decided to go with Sigourney Weaver. I'm sure you guys know her. You probably most likely know her from a sci-fi film. This girl's been in a lot of sci-fi movies, from like Alien to Avatar. I feel, and apparently after as you'll come to learn when I actually get into the video, she's been in Broadway a lot. So without further ado, let's get right into Sigourney Weaver's life from her birth in the late 40s up until now, when she's now I think she's 76 now. Anyways, let's get into it. Susan Alexandra Sigourney Weaver was born to Sylvester Weaver and Elizabeth Inglis on October 8th, 1949 in Manhattan, New York City, New York. Really odd. Then, sometimes people just say New York for short for the city, and then I'll just think they're talking about the state, and then I'll just be like, okay, we're talking about the city or the state? Anyone else? Let's Avenue. Anyways. Elizabeth Inglis was an English actress who has starred in movies including River's End in 1940, The Letter, and also in 1940, and Tonight and Every Night in 1945. And meanwhile, Sylvester Pat Weaver, people call him Pat, was a television producer and broadcast executive. He was NBC's president between 1953 and 1955. He even created the Today Show. And that's only 2 years, though, that he was the president of NBC. And he has been credited with reshaping the format and philosophy of commercial broadcasting when radio gave way to TV, because that was around the 50s. Like people started moving from radios, like listening to radio. I mean, people still listen to radios, but they kind of started moving to the television more so. They started moving to television more so in the 50s. That's like when it... I guess it's like with computers, there were computers in an earlier time that some people may think, but in reality, it's really yeah, they were there, but it wasn't like an everyday household thing. And I think the 50s is about when TVs started becoming more a household thing. Anyways, when Sigourney was born, she already had an older brother named Trajan. I might have mispronounced that, Trajan Weaver, and he was born on October 20th, 1945, so he was 4 years older than her. And during Sigourney's early childhood, she was described to be a bookish, shy, and exceptionally tall girl who always felt like an outsider. Don't we all, Sigourney? Don't we all? I mean, no offense to you, Sigourney, I just mean, that last one just feels that's just an everybody feeling, but... Anyways, being the daughter of two people who are in Hollywood, and not just in Hollywood, but decently big in Hollywood, particularly her dad being a big executive and stuff, she did live a privileged and very entertainment-focused life, and that actually kind of reminds me of my Christian Slater video, because both of his parents were in the cinema setting. Go watch that video if you haven't. So remember how I said that Sigourney was taller than a lot of the other girls? Well, yes, this is, again, true. And since she was so visibly taller by the time she was 11 to 12 years old, it actually had a negative impact on her personal self-esteem. And in later interviews, when this is way later, when in interviews, she would recall that she felt like a giant spider and that she never had the confidence to ever think she could act. And this is all because she was just a lot taller than all the other girls around her. But I have to say, how tall was she? Because I've seen her in movies. She doesn't seem that tall. Maybe for a girl she's tall. I don't know. I mean, I'm tall. I'm actually the tallest, me personally, I'm actually the tallest woman in my family. I'm 5'6". I'm the tallest woman in my family. I'm only 3 or 4 inches shorter than my dad, and my dad's about average for a guy, so, yeah. But, when Sigourney was 14 years old, she finally actually went by Sigourney, because remember, her birth name's actually Susan. So up until when she was 14, she would go by Susan until she took on the name Sigourney after a character from The Great Gatsby. I'm sure you guys know what The Great Gatsby is. It's a very popular story. And she briefly attended the Brearley School and the Chapin School in New York after arriving at the Ethel Walker School in Simsbury, Connecticut. Like, she's been to a lot of schools, basically, and I'm sure all of these are some pretty high-end schools, considering her background and stuff. Like, from my understanding, like, if you're I guess, I mean, technically, yeah, her parents are both celebrities, if not as big as celebrities as her, per se, though her father seems to be pretty big behind the scenes, anyway. Like, he's passed away a long time ago, which we'll get into later, but, I feel like, yeah, from my understanding, like, the children of people who work in Hollywood tend to get to go to, like, some fancy schools because the parents have money. And, one of Sigourney's early roles, basically, yeah, this is around the time when she developed an interest in performing, and one of her early roles was in a school adaptation of The Highwayman, which is actually a story I know, sort of. And another time she played a Rudolph Valentino character in an adaptation of You Can't Take It With You. And in 1967, she graduated from high school with dreams of doing something different than the norm. She wanted to not be normal. And this became clearly evident because her high school yearbook quote even said, and I quote, "Please God, please don't let me be normal." That's like the opposite of what every like outcast person would ever. Like, that's like, I feel like that's like somebody like who has finally gotten some self-esteem, like, you know, because I mentioned earlier, because of her being so much taller than like the other kids, like the other girls, that she would not have much self-esteem. But by this point, when she's graduating high school and stuff, that like she's like, I don't want to be normal. Like, I feel like that, you know. But anyways, also in 1967, shortly after she turned 18, Sigourney visited Israel and volunteered on a I'm going to struggle pronouncing this, even though it looks like a simple word, but kibbutz. I'll put it on the screen for several months. And I don't know, like, when I saw it's Israel, it just made me think of all the Israel versus Palestine stuff going on right now, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about that, what's going on over there, so I don't really have an opinion on stuff, and it technically speaking has nothing to do with Sigourney Weaver, unless she's publicly spoken about it, which I could not find anything like that. All I know is that in 1967, she went over to Israel, and that was like decades before what's happening now, so... Anyways, after she returned to the U.S., Sigourney went to Sarah Lawrence College, and after her freshman year, she transferred to Stanford University as an English major. And while at Stanford, Sigourney was heavily involved in the theater department, so continuing that interest in acting. And Sigourney wanted to enter Stanford's PhD English program, and then later pursue a career as a writer or journalist, which honestly, I was kind of like, huh, you know, like, sometimes it reminded me of my Johnny Depp video, and see that, you go check that out if you haven't, but, it reminded me of that because Johnny Depp kind of started acting accidentally, and, like, I feel like this feels similar to that, like, with Sigourney, because originally she wanted to be a writer or a journalist, you know, and, but soon she changed her mind after being frustrated by the deadly dry courses, so she changed her mind on the Stanford thing and decided to do something else instead. Alright, so now we're in the 70s, and starting off the 70s, in 1972, Sigourney would graduate from Stanford University, and after that, she would attend Yale University. So going from one big university to another one. And however, she wasn't very fond of the theater shows at Yale, and some of her teachers there would even describe Sigourney as quote-unquote talentless and advised her to stick to comedy, which I'm sure those teachers feel embarrassed now. I mean, Sigourney is one of the biggest actresses. I'm pretty sure she's a pretty big actress. Like, everyone knows that name. Or at least I think everyone knows that name. And sometime between 1972 and 1974, Sigourney actually met and became friends with another actress named Selena Cadell, and they actually are still friends today. I just thought that'd be worth mentioning that, like, Selena is one of Sigourney's close friends within the Hollywood sphere. And finally, in 1974, Sigourney graduated from Yale with an MFA, which stands for Master of Fine Arts. And now that she's fresh out of university, Sigourney would make her first debut in, like, professional theater on Broadway and shows like The Constant Wife. And she would also appear in some commercials and even a few television roles. And she would have her official film debut in 1977's Annie Hall. She was supposed to have a bigger role in that, but her dedication to a play she was on at the time, because obviously sometimes actors do multiple things at once, and her dedication to the play caused her amount of screen time in this film to be changed. And 2 years later, Sigourney would appear in Alien. So this is like 1979, and you guys know Alien, right? Like, Alien's such a popular movie. I saw it once in theaters, actually, for a re-release. You know, like those, you know how like films will sometimes be re-released. I actually got to see that in theaters. I also got to see Titanic and a few other old movies in theater, including Dirty Dancing. But anyways, basically, the film was a blockbuster hit, and she played a character named Ripley. And the film was originally supposed to, like, her role in the film was originally supposed to go to an actress named Veronica Cartwright, but there was a late change in casting, and so it ultimately went to Sigourney. And Alien initially actually got mixed reviews despite being a hit, but over time it became more popular, obviously, and Sigourney would even get some award nominations for her performance as Ripley. Alright guys, now to the 80s in Sigourney's life. And also, I don't know if you guys can hear my cat snoring over there. I'm sure you guys can hear my family, but Bella's over there, just out of sight, right there on the pillow. She seems to think that's her spot. Like, I don't know, I think she thinks she's Woody from Toy Story or something. She's always up there, but she's snoring. I don't know if you can hear that. But anyways, actually back to Sigourney. When the 1980s came around, Sigourney was still appearing in different Broadway productions. I guess she just really liked Broadway. I mean, you know what? That is where she started professionally, so no shock there. And between 1980 and 1983, Sigourney would appear in different films, including Eyewitness in 1981, The Year Living Dangerously in 1982, and Deal of the Century in 1983. And also, still in 1983, Sigourney met director and actor Jim Simpson at the Williamstown Theater Festival in Upper New York. She had a boyfriend whose identity is unknown at the time, but despite that, Sigourney was attracted to Jim. I mean, you know, I see it, you know. She likes theater. I'm sure he likes theater. Hence why they both had a theater festival. And I'm sure that was like an instant connection for them. I kind of feel bad for the boyfriend she had at the time, though. No, but I mean, you know, whatever. What am I talking about? Jesus Christ. Later in early 1984, she and Jim went to a party and a dinner together. So basically a date. I think they were just hyper. This was around the time that romance was starting to appear between them. No, not my cat romance, like the idea. That was a bad joke. Which you only understand if you know I have a cat that I named Romance. And on October 1st, 1984, Sigourney and Jim Simpson got married. And this was only 3 months into their relationship. Into their, like, official relationship. I mean, they met in 83, but, I mean, like, you know, there is, like, yeah, I don't need to explain, do I? But they are actually still together to this day, which honestly rare for Hollywood. Like, I feel like relationships don't last that long, even back then. Like, you know, like I feel like divorces just happen a lot, you know? And between 1984 and 1989, Sigourney would star in more movies, including One Woman or Two, which was in 84, Half Moon Street in 1986, Working Girl in 1988, and Ghostbusters 2 in 1989. Yes, she was in Ghostbusters 1. She was in the Ghostbusters franchise as, I don't remember what character. She was the woman, the love interest. I forgot. I've seen the first Ghostbusters. I should know this. And anyways, after her role in 1988's Gorillas in the Mist, Sigourney started to take part in advocating for environmental rights, which reminds me of River Phoenix. I did a video on him too. Go check that out. It's actually the shortest episode so far. And she would continue to keep doing this throughout the years. The environmental rights thing, I mean. And in 1989, Sigourney would win her first ever, and two of them actually, Golden Globes Awards. Like, win them, not like just nominations. Like, I'm pretty sure, from what I can find, she actually won these. So she has had nominations before, like for Alien, but this is actually something that she earned. Alright, now let's get to the 90s, where she's still popular, obviously. Sigourney's still a big name. Between 1990 and 1993, Sigourney would star in more movies, including Alien 3. Yes, there's a lot of Alien movies. No, seriously, a lot. There's even, Alien movies that, that include Predator. You know Predator, right? Like Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff. So that Alien 3 in 1992, and then 1492 Conquest of Paradise, also in 1992, and Dave in 1993. On April 13th, 1990, going back to 1990 real quick, Sigourney and Jim, her husband, Jim Simpson, had their only child, a daughter named Charlotte Simpson. But since Sigourney was about 41 years old at this time, she had to have the kid, Charlotte, via IVF, which stands for in vitro fertilization. And Charlotte would grow up to become an author. She probably has other things, like most people who have connections to Hollywood are, but from what I can find, she's an author. And in 1996, Sigourney and Jim founded the Flea Theater together in Manhattan, New York City. To this day, Sigourney still supports her theater that she opened with him, and also in 1996, she made a return to theater on Broadway, so going back to her roots once again. And between 1994 and 1999, Sigourney would show up in more movies, though she's definitely leans more towards Broadway, as I've come to see during my research. The movies she was in included The Wild Swans in 1994, Copycat in 1995, The Ice Storm in 1997, and A Map of the World in 1999. And finally, in 1998, going back a year from that last movie, she would win her first ever BAFTA award, which stands for British Academy of Film and Television. So, this is probably her second or third, if you're counting the two Golden Globe Awards as separate things. Her, second/third, big, award that she's really won. Honestly, though, Sigourney, she really just goes back to Broadway a lot. I thought she was mostly just a movie girl, but I mean, hey, you know what? Every time I research one of these celebrities for a video, I'm just like, oh, wow, I'm learning so much. River Phoenix grew up in a cult. Johnny Depp didn't even want to act. Sigourney's on Broadway. So, yeah. That's pretty much it for the 90s, though, so let's get to the next century. Oh, come on, button. Alright, now we're at the turn of the century, the 2000s! And this is about the time we're getting close to when I was born, in 2009. That's to the end of the decade, though, not till the end of the decade, because 2010 is technically the next decade. So, literally the end of the decade, June 2009. Anyway, This video is about Sigourney, not me. So between 2000 and 2002, she appeared in more movies, including Company Man in 2000, Heartbreakers in 2001, and Sundance in 2002. On March 15th, 2002, Sigourney's father, Sylvester, he would pass away from old age at the age of 93, which, 93, good job. That is actually really, really old. Congrats on reaching 93, sir. Rest in peace. But also remember Sylvester, that's the dad. He even created the Today Show, as I mentioned earlier in this video. And between 2003 and 2007, Sigourney would appear in movies including Holes in 2003, The Village 2004, Imaginary Heroes 2004, also in Infamous in 2006, and on August 25th, 2007, Sigourney's mother, Elizabeth Inglis, would pass away from old age at the age of 94, so technically 1 year above 93, which was Sylvester. So honestly, they both made it pretty far. Honestly, 90s, like, I think that's about as long as my great grandmother lived. I think Dick Van Dyke's like Dick Van Dyke's still alive. He's like 100, right? Excuse me. And in 2009, Sigourney would star as a character named Dr. Grace Augustine in James Cameron's blockbuster sci-fi film Avatar. I know you've all heard of it. Avatar, big one. Jake Sully, the Na'vi. We all know Avatar. If you don't know, if you aren't aware of what Avatar is, I will be truly surprised. Doesn't matter if you're like a fan of Avatar. If you don't know what Avatar is, I'll say I think it's better than Avatar Last Airbender, but the other Avatar Last Airbender, I just don't like anime. Okay, I really don't like anime. So obviously, I think James Cameron's Avatar movies are 1,000 times better than that TV show. But what am I going on this random tangent for? Anyway, the movie Avatar, the one with Sigourney in it, would go on to become the highest grossing film of all time. Well, yeah, no. It's a good movie. It's a popular movie. It's really technically impressive for 2009. Honestly, it's really technically impressive. But anyways, this leads us into the next decade. I feel like I'm moving through this episode really fast, and I don't know if I've just gotten used to like just the quick pace, no lollygagging or anything, or if like I just couldn't find much on her. Like, much about Sigourney's life, which would be unfortunate. I had a lot to talk about with the previous three, but anyways, let's just get into the 2010s. Alright, now we're in the 2010s, which isn't this decade, but the previous, so we're getting closer and closer to now, the current time, present time. And for a good chunk of the 2010s, Sigourney would put more of her focus back into Broadway and extension TV shows. So about the Broadway one, like this girl is like going back to Broadway. Like, she'll still do movies, she'll do shows. Like she did a lot of TV shows in the 2010s, but like this girl does love going back to Broadway. She just really liked theater. I mean, hey, think about it at this point. She met her husband at a theater festival. She was doing all kinds of theater stuff in university. She got her start on Broadway. Like, this girl just keeps going back to theater. And also throughout the 2010s, Sigourney has expressed wanting to focus on her family first instead of on the relentless pursuit of fame. And she would also continue to advocate about environmental awareness. And after filming Avatar back in 2009, Sigourney shared in a 2010 interview that she had to start going to therapy to address the guilt she would feel when going away from her family to do filming, which I believe is in New Zealand. And she specifically mentioned how Charlotte, her daughter Charlotte that was born in 1990, so at this point she'd be like 20 years old. Charlotte was applying to colleges around this time, like around the filming time, so I guess she was like 18, 19 then. And Sigourney just couldn't be there to help her out and stuff, so she had to go to therapy to address the guilt she was feeling for that because she was too busy filming Avatar. And also in 2010, Sigourney became good friends with fellow actress Jamie Lee Curtis, the Scream Queen. We all seen Halloween, right? Like she's probably most famous for her role as the final girl, Laurie I believe that was her name, Laurie, in Halloween 1978. I haven't seen that movie. I know, shame on me, but I do know Jamie Lee Curtis is the Scream Queen. And in 2011, Sigourney would win her first ever Grammy Award for a spoken word album, which, very random fact, but I thought I might as well mention it because this video feels kind of short. And between 2012 and 2019, she would appear in a few movies, though, because like I said, she was focusing on Broadway, but she would appear in movies including Exodus, Gods and Kings in 2014, The Assignment in 2016, and Ghostbusters 2016, which I know you're like, you guys know what Ghostbusters I'm talking about. It's that stupid one where it's like women instead, but like the women are written in the most annoying way ever. Like, why do we have to be better than men? I thought the point was to be equal to them, not to be better and doing everything perfect. Like Hollywood, you do realize that us girls are freaking annoyed at that already, right? Like, that's why I hate all these. That's probably why I hate any stories where a woman is the lead at this point. That's probably why I hate them. Like, actually, random tangent, just to make the video longer, I guess. I remember being in the bookstore one time. I was like, you know how like usually the bookstore has all newer books and stuff. I was looking through all the newer stuff, and I kept reading the back, looking for one that had a guy for a main character instead. And I kept loudly complaining that it was just women, and I was just and like I think even though I was like a lot younger then, like honestly, I wasn't really able to explain it then, but it's just. I feel like it's because they're just girls in like movies and books and stuff now are just super annoying. And it was a really random tangent, but hey, you got me talking about the 2016 Ghostbusters movies, so sit tight real quick, people. And my mom actually. If my mom will sometimes bring it up and be like, yeah, that was like super embarrassing. I'm just like, well, it's true. I'd rather read a book following a guy than a girl for so many reasons. But as far as modern stories go, it's definitely because all the girls are annoying. So yeah. But anyways, let's just get back to Sigourney and go to the 2020s now. Okay, sorry not sorry about the tangent after mentioning the stupid Ghostbusters movie. I was actually at the end of the 2010 section anyway, but anyways, back to Sigourney. Between 2020 and 2026, Sigourney would star in movies including My Salinger Year in 2020, The Good House in 2021, Avatar Way of Water, I love that movie, in 2022, Master Gardener in 2023, and Avatar Fire and Ash 2025. I loved that movie too. And at a public point during this decade, the 2020s, Sigourney's daughter Charlotte got married, and this made Sigourney a mother-in-law. I couldn't find the husband's name anywhere. I think it was a husband. I couldn't find a date. I couldn't find pictures. I couldn't find nothing for this. I saw pictures, but I couldn't be sure if it was her daughter or not. I don't think it was. And also in this decade, Sigourney had developed new hobbies that she became passionate about, which included gardening, hiking, and being a sous chef, of all things. Hey, you know what? She's in her 70s now. Let's have her, some hobbies. I'm surprised she hasn't retired yet, but has Dick Van Dyke retired? No. And now being in her 70s, Sigourney has expressed joy for how far along she has come, and her husband Jim has also been able to come with her more often to her different film sets, which is nice, having family there. And Sigourney, despite being 76 years old now, does not plan on retiring from acting anytime soon. And she has plenty of film projects coming up, including 2 more Avatar films. Yes, there should be 2 more Avatar films, and I believe these are 2029 and 2031 planned, which by 2031 she'll be 82, which I guess isn't that old, but kind of old to be an Avatar. But I've seen behind the scenes stuff and how they actually do it, but as long as she's in physical health, she should be able to do that. I think she plays the daughter Kiri in the sequel, since her character Grace from the first movie died. Well, guys, that's the end of my Sigourney Weaver video. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment below anything you'd like. I'm pretty surprised how short this video was, but I tell you, it was hard to find stories about Sigourney's life and stuff. And anyways, make sure to check out my social links. They're in my channel bio and in the description below. And speaking of Discord, they include my Instagram Discord. This is my Instagram Discord. Speaking of my Discord, and my goal right now is to reach 50 subscribers. And when I do, I'm gonna open up a Discord server, which will only be for subscribers, obviously. So make sure to subscribe so you can be part of that when that goal comes. And I will see you guys in another video. Goodbye now. Make sure I'll let you guys know you can always recommend a celebrity for a future episode. Bye now.